Sergio Perez has had a tricky couple of races thanks to crashes with his competitors. In Silverstone, it was Charles Leclerc who made his race hard, but he managed to recover to second place. In Austria, he wasn't so lucky though, and Red Bull are furious at him for making a mistake. Sergio has hit back at the driver he crashed with though. Everyone had something to say about this crash, so stick around to find out all the details. On the opening lap of last weekend's Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring, Sergio Perez managed to get a run on George Russell going into turn 4. The Red Bull driver was side by side with the Mercedes as they passed the apex, and having the outside line, it looked like he was getting the better drive around the outside of the corner. As they exited the corner, Perez held his line around the outside, but Russell strayed a little wide of his line. The Mercedes front left tyre made contact with the rear right of Sergio Perez, sending the Mexican spinning into the gravel, down to last place, and eventually out of the race as his damaged car was not able to catch up to the rest of the field. Russell, meanwhile, struggled on with a damaged front wing before pitting for repairs on lap 11 of 71. There is a clause in the Formula 1 rules that means that first lap incidents are given a little more leeway than crashes at other times during the race. On the first lap, there are cars everywhere. Everyone is passing each other, and when you're driving at well over 100 miles an hour, it can be very hard to keep track of where everyone is. By the time Sergio and George had made contact at turn 4 though, the order had settled and the race directors decided that George should have avoided the Red Bull. Russell had to serve a 5-second penalty, which he took while in the pits on lap 11, repairing the damage he received during the crash. "I was clearly ahead," Perez told the media as he looked back on the scrap. It was up to George to really control his car, which he clearly couldn't, and he ended up making contact. There was nothing else I could have done. I gave him enough room, I was very close to the gravel to make sure he had enough room, and for both of us to make the corner. For the standards of George and his level, I'm very surprised at that maneuver. Following the retirement, Perez slipped to third in the Drivers' Championship. Before the race, he was looking to close the gap to Max and extend his lead over Ferrari's Charles Leclerc. Perez hadn't been quiet about his desire to fight Max for the championship this season, but unless Max starts making some big mistakes, this most recent retirement for Perez means that might not be possible anymore. Leclerc is 19 points ahead in second, with leader and teammate Max Verstappen 57 points clear. It is very disappointing for me and a very disappointing result for our team, because clearly today there were a lot of opportunities, said Perez. 0 points races are very painful, especially when you're in the midst of the championship. While Perez might have been critical of Russell, not everyone agreed, including his own team. But before we talk about what team boss Christian Horner and advisor Helmut Marko said, let's see how George responded to the crash. After Perez hit out at Russell for a very surprising move, the Briton gave his version of events and questioned the penalty handed out to him. "I've looked at the video and I think it was harsh," he told the media. "I mean, you're racing at the start, the cars are everywhere. Checo did do a bold move going down the outside like that. He's done it before. I think he did it with Valtteri Bottas yesterday as well, and Valtteri had to get right on top of the curbs to avoid him. This was exactly what I tried to do, but with Carlos Sainz ahead of me, it made things difficult, and there's only so much you can brake and steer, and ultimately I had nowhere to go." Russell maintained fourth after the clash but lamented a missed shot at the podium as he struggled for pace ahead of his earlier than scheduled stop. He was then forced to fight his way back through the field to follow Lewis Hamilton over the line. "I lost a huge amount of lap time with the damage, probably a second a lap," Russell commented. Then to find out I got the penalty, then obviously the front wing change, a 20-second long pit stop. I guess it wasn't bad in the end to finish where we did, coming back through the traffic a minute behind the leader, although we obviously did an extra pit stop. George Russell managed an impressive 4th place finish despite the penalty and the extra pit stop, but will definitely have been disappointed to see Lewis Hamilton take a podium place that definitely should have been his. You would think that all of Sergio's team would back him up and blame George Russell for the crash, but that wasn't the case. Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko has always been a colourful character who isn't afraid to say what he's thinking, even when he definitely shouldn't. This time, he surprisingly came out criticising Sergio Perez for trying to make a move on Russell at turn 4. Despite the race directors deciding that it was Russell's fault, Marko feels that Sergio should have listened to what the team told him before the race. "We said before the start, do not go around the outside in that corner," Marko told the media. "That is not possible. This was just unnecessary. We've seen it before, it doesn't work." After that, there was a lot of damage to the floor. He might have finished 2 laps behind, so it didn't make sense to continue. It was better to save the mileage. Marco also spoke about a near-identical incident in the 2020 Austrian Grand Prix when Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton tagged the then Red Bull driver Alex Albon as the tyre attempted to pass around the outside of the same corner. Alex Albon had a tough time at Red Bull that was made worse by numerous small crashes and racing incidents that meant he never gained any momentum at the team. In the end, a string of bad results destroyed his confidence and saw him let go by the team. I don't think Mercedes like it when our cars go around the outside in turn 4, Marco quipped. It was a shame because you saw that Checo was ahead of Russell. It's almost a perfect imitation of the incident with Lewis and Albon a few years ago. It's a shame we didn't get more space there. Of course, not everyone on the team was quite as critical of Perez's driving. It was a completely legal move he made. If he'd been able to get past Russell there, he would have been right on the tail of Carlos Sainz's Ferrari and might have been able to help Verstappen in his battle with Charles Leclerc. If Perez had been able to get behind Leclerc, it would have forced the Monegasque to think a little defensively. He was free to attack Verstappen in the opening laps of the race, and Verstappen destroyed his tyres trying to hold him off before being passed on lap 12. With Perez behind, Leclerc would have been forced to play a little bit more defensive, which would have given Max some breathing room, changing the race completely. Team Principal Horner came to Checo's defense and was incredibly disappointed that only one of his drivers finished the race. Losing Checo was hugely disappointing, he told the media. I don't think Mercedes like our cars going around the outside at turn 4. It was a shame because Checo was clearly ahead. It is a tricky corner and we see so many incidents on the outside. It is a shame he wasn't given more space. Ferrari had a quicker car in the race today. On tyre degradation, they were just better than us, but I think Checo would certainly have been on the podium, finished Horner. Max Verstappen was also left annoyed at his teammate falling out of the race so early. He said, "My teammate got taken out." George Russell knocking Checo out of the race leaves Red Bull in an awkward position. Like we said earlier, the Mexican has been keen to take the fight to Verstappen this season and wanted to have a shot at the championship. The team have been supportive of this so far and have tried to not favour one driver over the other during the races. But with 0 points from Austria, Checo is now 57 points behind Verstappen, and in all honesty, he can't overturn that deficit. This means they might be more inclined to use team orders to help Max in the coming races, something that Sergio won't be happy with. But with Charles Leclerc now catching Max in the Drivers' Championship, Red Bull have to support the driver with the best chance of winning, and that is Max. Checo was unfortunate in Austria, despite what George and Marco might think, but the effect could mean the end of his season competing with Max. Do you think George Russell was in the wrong in Austria? And should Red Bull now start doing more to help Max, or is it too early to make that call? Let us know what you think in the comments section down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye-bye.